Hello and welcome. I'm the Roleplay Philosopher, and today we talk about the new Kickstarter project, The Real Thing. Today we make an interview with one of the coolest guys I've ever met, Jason Peercy. He's a co-writer of The Real Thing, and it is on Kickstarter right now, so don't miss it. The interview is right after the intro. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey Chris, how's it going? Thanks for having me on the show. I'm Jason Peercy. I'm the co-writer of The Real Thing RPG, which is out on Kickstarter right now.
Yeah, that's great. I saw this and it was just amazing that that Faith No More gets an own RPG. So the project has now just nearly 1,000 supporters and is just nearly 10 times funded. So what does that makes to you? Did you expect that, or was that absolutely out of nowhere?
That's It's come from out of nowhere. If it were, it's been an amazing ride. Right? We didn't expect it at all. This is a passion project of ours, and I don't know, like I get goosebumps thinking about it. I don't know if people listening can tell. It's just amazing. We feel blessed and can't even believe we're on this ride. You know, it's really cool.
You're not. You say you're a co-writer. Who writes with you this book? And I saw some nice artwork. Who does this? Did you did this?
No, unfortunately. Well, actually, fortunately. So the other co-writer is Jason Ward, and he's a friend of mine from middle school. We grew up listening to Faith together, and he had this idea, and he was like, I got this idea to make a role-playing game out of The Real Thing. Talk me out of it. And I was like, no, we're doing this, man. So he had a lot of good ideas for the mechanics and the setting, and we filled it in from there. And I helped him write the scenario. He took care of a lot of the layout and mechanics part. And then I have a friend of mine, excuse me.
You're welcome.
James Masingo. He is the illustrator. And James Masingo has worked on things such as 7th Sea. He's been the AD for Shadowrun for a little bit of time. And I didn't know this about my friend. I just knew he was a very good illustrator. So I hit him up. I was like, hi, friend. I haven't talked to you for a while. Hope you're doing well. We got this project. What do you think? And he's like, that sounds cool. And so those are the guys working on the project with me through the Accidental Cyclops is the group we're with.
Wow, okay, that sounds really amazing. So you're a role player yourself?
Absolutely.
Okay, what kind of role-playing games do you like?
Oh man, well, I came up playing D&D.
Yeah.
I grew up with 8th, and that's like still one of my loves to this day. And all the iterations of D&D, and forgive me if I say up until the most recent 2. Not a big fan of those. Although they've done great things for the gaming industry. Like they've really broken down gaps and broken bridges. So it's great for that. It's really great for that. So I'm very happy that more people are into this because it's become a little more accessible. I think that's very cool. But I love Shadowrun. I love Legend of the Five Rings, 7th Sea, just because for the storytelling aspects. And obviously, I don't know if anybody out there who's checked this out yet or not can tell, we're big fans of the White Wolf games also. Vampire, werewolf, mage,
Perfect.
all that type of stuff. So, and I'm a LARPer as well.
Oh wow, okay. What kind of LARP do you do? Do you do vampire LARP, or do you just fantasy LARP, or what do you do for LARPing?
I started off in vampire LARPing. Vampire, werewolf, mage, that type of stuff. But I have quickly become a very big fan of Nordic style LARPs and whatever genre they're building up. The ability for the players to really work with each other to craft the story, and the X card, or what's okay, what's not okay, working out. Even physical. I did some acting for a while too, so more local stuff than anything. But I did some physical work and some stage combat, so working out things like that within those systems and those styles really speak to me. And I really have come along to enjoy those too, and I I used to run LARPs also, but the most recent pandemic makes it a little difficult to do that very well. So
Same here in Germany. It's so hard to find a LARP group in times of the epidemic. Is there maybe an opportunity to play the real thing as a LARP game?
So we definitely have played with that idea, and
Yeah.
if maybe, I'll say maybe,
Okay.
we've played with the idea. If things continue to go well, we might do something like that. But we have talked about it.
I think that would be so amazing. Real thing, Faith No More themed LARP to play. You say in one part of the Kickstarter campaign that there will be up to 5 books. Are these books all rule books, or will there be one rule book and the others will be source books?
Yeah. The idea is, and this all predicates on whether or not this initial foray into the field with Faith No More, using their IP, and I want to say so before I go on further, I have to say thank you, Tim Moss, thank you, Faith No More, for making this a possibility. You guys made our dreams come true, and hopefully from this, we can do something for you. That's our goal. We go buy their merch, go listen to their music, get familiar with this band because they are fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's a dream to be working with this IP. So with that being said, if they think we've represented them well in this first endeavor, then our plan is to do a story for every other album after this. So really the rule book is this. This is a rule book and a story. And we're using the Powered by the Apocalypse system. It has sort of our mechanisms in it and the ideas that we use for rules and how to get the story out and massage it out with the players. It's very much the players have agency, a lot of agency within the scenario. Small sandbox, but we're hoping that if things go forward and Faith No More enjoys what we've done as well and allows us to, we'll widen that sandbox, and it will go from here's this one setting to maybe here's a city, maybe here's a little more defined setting, and here's some stories within that. And actually, Jason and I were together last night talking about, what is to come, because we're very surprised and happily surprised and cannot thank the backers enough for supporting it as much as they have. We're just blown away. So if we can, we're going to give you more.
Thank you very much. What exactly does the band say about your role-playing game? Were they also excited, or did they say, what exactly do you want to do? And what is role-playing game?
Basically that, the latter. They didn't really know, they weren't familiar with role-playing games. And, rightfully so, they're amazing musicians in their own right, and to be as good as they are, that's what you got to do with your life. As someone who's also a musician, I understand that. So we had a few conversations through email and one on phone with Tim Moss, and to really massage out what it is we're trying to get at and what we're trying to do. And once he got it and kind of saw what we were getting at, he went to the guys and talked with the band. And after that, they were just sort of like, yeah, that sounds cool, let's do it. Because they've done comic books before and things like that. So, they, I think, saw it as the same way, like, oh, just a different genre of, art thing that wants to partner with us. Okay, that sounds cool. And they wanted to make sure that we're not trying to misrepresent or take advantage, and we're not at all.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they were most concerned was. But yeah, after they kind of understood what it was, they were on board with it and just gave us the green flag. And we talked with Tim a couple times here and there about some of the direction, more of just making certain that the IP is represented well and properly. And that is our biggest concern also with it, is to make sure that we represent the band well, not just the scenario and the story we're trying to tell with it, but we don't want to put the band in a negative light either.
Yeah. Perfect. This setting is said that it is more or less apocalyptic. So what does that mean accordingly to the role-playing game?
So the setting is I'll give this much away. We're trying to keep it a little bit of a mystery because as players play through it, it'll be way more interesting when they discover it also, right?
Okay, yeah.
So basically a very small sandbox.
Yeah.
And you're in a warehouse, at a warehouse party, and you wake up. And that's kind of where everything starts. You know, making a character may take like 10 minutes, and you sort of discover your character along the way. So, did I answer your question? Is that a good answer for your question?
Yeah, perfectly. I'm perfectly fine with that. So,
All right.
I just want to have this rulebook in my hands. So, I would like to make a review later on. So,
Sure.
will there be a publisher where you can buy this rulebook later on after the Kickstarter? If
Yeah,
yes,
there definitely will be.
yeah.
Yes, there absolutely will be. To be honest with you right now, I can't tell you who that will be. We're in talks with a couple different people. So, I mean, we're just blown away by how well this is done. So we're sort of figuring this out now. It's like, oh, people want it in stores, and people are going to want to get it after the Kickstarter. Okay, how do we negotiate that? So we're working out those details. But when we find those details, we'll definitely let you know.
Perfect. That would be so great. So, how did you get the idea of making a role-playing game out of a band? That's just itself awesome. So,
Thanks.
that was just a serious question I asked myself till I see the Real Thing RPG on Kickstarter. So, how do you get this idea to make out of a band or out of the albums of the band a whole role-playing game with all of the features, with maybe adventures and character play and all of this?
So, music is a story to me, and I don't care if it's with lyrics or without. A musician is telling you a story, and a lot of times, once they put it out to the public, the story is kind of up for interpretation as to what it means to you, as opposed to what it meant to them. And as a musician too, sometimes they get it, they get the message that you put out, and sometimes people don't, and that's okay. Because as long as people enjoy it and they love your stuff and you are fulfilled giving people some safe place to go to, or you realize, hey, these people also feel this too, then I think you've done your job as a musician. And with that being said, we have been listening to Faith No More since we were like preteens. So this album definitely speaks to a story of discovery, of identity, of addiction and desire. And we just thought, we think there's a story here. Let's massage it out. So some of the songs you'll notice if you pick up the book, a lot of the chapters, there are I believe 5 chapters in the game, and each chapter is one of the songs from the Real Thing album that titles it. Like the first one is Surprise You're Dead. In the end, it's The Morning After, So we kind of go through those themes and those songs. And then we didn't just look at the Real Thing for some of it. Like character moves and certain other aspects of the game are titled after tracks by Faith No More on not only the Real Thing but other albums. And we also, very luckily, we worked this out as well. We're able to use a likeness of the band members in the book. So our illustrator, James Masingo, you'll recognize the guys in the book as certain non-player characters.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. You just said you're a musician. I see a piano in the background. Music instruments do you play?
I can only kind of play a lot of instruments. So I have a mandolin, a violin, a piano, a couple of guitars, a bass, and then I use Ableton native instruments and a bunch of other VSTs. I'm mainly a vocalist is actually what I am, but I've learned enough from other instruments to be able to pick them up and kind of write whatever I want. I by no means am a soloist on any of the other instruments, but I can play rhythms and I can write with them, and that's really what I use them for, is to write with. And then I'll go in with the VST or ask somebody else in that I know to session and be like, hey, I've got this idea. Can you make it sound better? Because I can't play past this level, but I know that this is the idea that I want. So that's kind of what I do. I do a lot of electronic music too. A lot is the wrong word. I'm in a grad program right now, so music is kind of gone until the summer. But yeah.
Perfect setup for a multi-talent. So,
Oh yeah.
so wonderful and great. Just the combination of music and role-playing games, just wonderful. Would you like to see the albums of Faith No More as a soundtrack to the role-playing game, or would you like to say no, that's not a part of it, but a good addition?
If people in their home games want to do that, do it. Awesome. It'll go right along with it. We Because of how rights work and in the States and music rights, Sol Invictus is the only album that they own the full rights to, which is a fantastic album, and has been the only one we've been able to use any of the music for. But we don't plan to put anything out with our release with their music, basically because it was a little too sticky to get into that end of it. But yeah, if you want to do it at home, it's going to go right along with it. Listen to the real thing as you're playing, listen to their albums. And we do have one of our stretch goals that we met early on was to put a playlist together. So I'll be putting a Spotify playlist together for each chapter, and there'll be more than Faith No More on there. Some of the themes in the game, it's the idea you were saying about the apocalypse earlier, right? The Powered by the Apocalypse system is a system we're using. And the scenario is supposed to take place in the early 90s, late 80s. So if for those who backed at the level to get the Spotify playlist, you'll recognize that type of music there. There'll be some industrial, some metal, a little grunge, a little bit of everything from those times that makes sense for the scene as it's playing through.
Perfect. What part of the book did you personally like the most, and what did you enjoy writing the most?
Oh, I really the part of the book that I like the most is the middle scenario, where everything kind of it starts off very small. You kind of wake up and all the characters are realizing, trying to figure out what's going on, right? The section after that, once you've figured out a little bit, and I'm just trying not to give too much away, is where really the story opens up, and you're able to interact with much more of the scenario. And it's all depending upon, what the characters, where the players take it, and what NPCs and parts of the scenario they interact with. There are things you can completely ignore in a run through. And I've ran this many times, and it's never the same, and I think that's really cool. So, but I like that part of the scenario because it really gets, it opens up the game right then, and the characters can do just a whole lot more. They can check out a lot more of the sandbox we've built, and do whatever they want inside of it, really. And I think that's the most exciting part of the game.
Perfect. Is there any format planned, like Critical Role, where you and your friends playing the game and show it to the public?
Yeah, we did one live stream, I believe it was last weekend, and we definitely used the art assets we have for layouts, and it went pretty well. So we are talking about either continuing that story or doing others like them in the future with other podcasters and interviewers and people who've kind of been along the ride, and supporting us. So if you're interested and we do it again, would totally be willing to reach out to see if we can make the time difference work.
Great. What is your least favorite part of the real thing? Okay, that's really a hard question, I know, but what do you would like to what do you just don't like, or is there anything you don't like?
There's a lot of things I don't like, but not necessarily about the real thing.
Okay.
Let me think about that. I can me personally, the thing that I like least about, well, really the thing that I liked least about it was the amount of time that it took to get everything together. We didn't realize how much of an endeavor it was going to be. That being said, I learned a lot in this whole process, and it was worth the time spent in it.
Yeah.
But I would say that's the least thing I like the most. I like to crank out projects, and so I need to become more patient, and that really was a yeah, that's what hit me the most.
Okay. Fully understandable. One of the last questions I have is, what is your favorite anecdote related to the project? Is there anything, a story, or is there anything you say, oh, that is a part I will remember in 20, 40 years when I think back to this project?
Absolutely. The day that we spoke on the phone with Tin Moss about the project, and because we had emailed back and forth a couple of times, and when he said, "Yeah, I'd like to set up a call with you guys," and that was kind of about it, and we're sort of like, "Well, what's this gonna be?" And that was the phone call where we learned that they said yes, and like I will never forget that day, because the little boy me who listened to Faith No More as a kid was like the whole time just squealing, and adult me's like, yeah, this is cool, man. Yeah, oh, thanks. Yeah, we're really happy you guys said yes. Oh, thank you so much for this. But like I couldn't. It was hard not to. Not really hard, but it was definitely like an inner fanboying out at that moment. But yeah, that's something I'll never forget. At all. And yeah, that was a very cool day and a very cool moment in life. I could if I could go back in time and tell younger me, hey, this really cool thing is gonna happen to you, he'd be like, you're kidding me. Nope, you're lying. You're I need to get rid of my doppelganger now.
Great. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
What do you hope players will like best about your role-playing game?
I hope that they will enjoy the discovery system of how you build a character. It is it allows you, when you start off, you don't know very much about your character. There are only 2 facts that you know, and everything else you have forgotten. And this discovery mechanism allows for a player to not only discover where they're going, but where they've come from. And it allows all the players at the table and the narrator to really craft a story together about who these characters are and why this scenario why it's important that they are here. And I think that is the most important thing about this. I think we've found something very unique and that works very well within the scenario. And I hope people really enjoy it, because it has allowed for some beautiful moments at a role-playing table between the folks who've helped us play test and other podcasters that have joined us, and other podcasts. Actually, there's one tonight as well who are doing an actual playthrough that we get to watch, or it was last night that we got to watch and see how they did things, and it was really cool to see the difference. So I just really hope people enjoy that, and hope that they like that agency.
What dice do you need to play the game?
2d6.
Oh,
that's it.
Perfect. So it's just a really starter-friendly role-playing game.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, as a player, you don't need to know anything. 2d6 and the ability to add, you can play the game. There's some creativity, right? It is not a game where the narrator is going to tell you what you're doing and give you everything on a plate. It's definitely a game where you're all going to exercise your creativity and telling a shared experience.
I'm just a little bit blown away.
Thanks.
Thank you so far. And is there anything you would like to say, more or less, as last words?
Yeah. We have a few days left on the Kickstarter, so go check out The Real Thing RPG on Kickstarter. We're also on Twitter @ThingRPG, and check out our website, therealthingrpg.com. As well, one thing I would like to say to anybody who is looking to get into the gaming sphere and has an idea to write something, wants to create a game, run a LARP, anything, go do it. Just go do it. You never know what you're going to get. You never know the joy that it might bring other people also. And, don't be afraid. Get together with your friends and go have fun.
That was an interview with Jason Peercy, and I appreciated the interview the whole time. I was just a little bit nervous, but I think that's okay. Please check out the link in the description. It's just directly to the Kickstarter campaign from The Real Thing. The other link in the description is to the Twitter account from The Real Thing. Please check it out too, and be sure to not miss any information. Thanks for watching and see you soon.